What is one major problem as garage gym owners that we face? Well, you're going to say money, but we also face the problem of ceiling heights. How do you increase your ceiling height without cutting trusses or rafters? Well, luckily today we're going to go through an option I personally use to help me do bar muscle ups without hitting my head and also do taller rope climbs. In most home garage designs, you're going to find 8-foot, 9-foot, and possibly 10-foot ceilings. I personally have a 9-foot 2 ceiling, so I don't have a full 10-foot to do wall ball. In creating this workaround to get a taller ceiling, I really had to think about being able to insulate the space. And possibly, if I really wanted to, I could put some sheetrock up there, but I preferred to do poly wrap because it was just easier to do so. And since heat rises, I really wanted to eliminate that chance for that heat going all the way up to the top of the roof, which would make it much harder to heat the space and make it more comfortable, and also making it probably a little bit more expensive to do so. Thus, I came up with the idea of making a boxed up ceiling in the space and not cutting any single trusses. Before you say that this is an idea that could work for you as well, you should know a few things before you go out and buy the materials. Do you have a living space or attic space above your garage? If you do have a living space, since the garage is outside the envelope of the house, you would need to have this space between your floor and your garage be insulated and sheetrocked because it is outside that envelope. If you do have a basement, this is considered within the house envelope, so you actually don't have to have a insulated floor or sheetrocked, so that's why you see a lot of unfinished basements. If you have an attic space or truss space above, I would just confirm with your local codes if this could work for you as well. But for me in Minnesota, this works for me because it is not a permanently heated space, and that means I don't have to have a certain R value. So if you do permanently heat your space, I would just confirm the R value you would need for your ceiling and then also your walls as well. You also have to think about, is your garage sheetrocked and insulated already? We'll talk about this later on if it is worth it or not. Also, you have to figure out what is the highest you would need to be able to do bar muscle ups, wall balls, and for me, I have an 11-foot box up. But if this 11-foot wall ball thing becomes a reality, then we might have to think about increasing that for your guys's. There isn't much materials you really need. You just need some 2x4 or 2x6 scrap. Also some poly wrap if you want to go that route and don't care about the look, or if you care about the look, then you can go with some sheetrock. I used insulation that was meant for a 24-inch on center truss, but if you have 16 on center hand frame above there, you would have to pick the right insulation for that. And also nails for the boards, and if you really want to be efficient with it, you could use a nail gun as well. And if you really don't want to do all the work, then you really could just leave your garage unfinished, but the problem becomes with that is when you try to heat the space, it's going to be really inefficient because most of that heat is going to transfer through the walls because siding and sheathing don't really have a high R value, but it is going to allow you to have your tallest ceilings and it won't be so costly to do so. For those of you who already have a finished garage, this really isn't an option and you should not just tear down your sheetrock because that's just stupid. The most effective style to create a box up is actually two different methods that I use, but you need to know some things about trusses if you don't understand these. My roof was built with a mono truss, so it has a shorter heel, about 4 inches on the lower side, and then the upper side is about 4 feet. In most garages, you're probably gonna see with a 2-car stall, you're gonna see a common truss. So you would have like a 4-inch heel on the left side and a 4-inch heel on the other side. It could have different heights. This is just an example, so you understand truss. For the first option on my shorter side of that mono truss, I had, in making that shorter box up area, so on that shorter side of the mono truss, I just made sure that my pull-up bar was centered in an opening of the trusses, or I was still able to do bar muscle ups in between two trusses. Also, the distance away from the wall for the end distance of that box up, I went 5'3", but you could go farther if you are looking to be your main space of working out. Then I would push this further, maybe 6 foot, 7 feet, depending on what you are looking for. This would allow you to do wall balls as well. I personally have a squat rack that comes out 40.5 inches, so it still allows me enough room, but I make sure I face outwards when I'm doing bar muscle ups or chest bars just because I don't really trust myself on the back end. I did box up a little bit further in from the wall just because it gave myself a little bit extra insulation and a better airflow. With the airflow as well, you need to make sure that you have air chutes coming down. So if you look up air chutes online, this will just help airflow get out and also get in, because when you have hot air is going to rise. And as hot air rises, it's going to pull that moisture out through the roof, and you should have ridge vents as well when you had your house built. In total, the height of the box up, it is 10'5" away from the flooring. And when I got that ceiling height, I do have a board that starts from the top cord, or bottom of the top cord, and it goes back to another board. That board that goes vertical starts at the top of the bottom cord, and then it runs up to the top cord, so it gives me another nailing point. And that nailing point helps me put insulation, and it also lets me tack that poly wrap in that space as well. At the starting point of the box up, I do have 2x4 blocking that runs between the trusses. You might have like a 2x3 or 2x4 depending on what your heel is, but this just allows you to put some insulation back behind there. And when you go to the back end of the box up, you're gonna put another board there just so you have a nailing point and also a place where you can put your insulation at. And you really could get this up as high as you want, but one thing to watch out for is make sure you have proper airflow, and also you might need some extra materials depending on how tall you want this thing to go. My taller box area is in similar idea to the smaller space, but there is some key differences because it is wider in length and also taller than that short area. So a problem that I had to take into consideration, because it is so much longer, I did have to have a board that runs down the center to prevent that insulation from sagging down. And it would need 2 boards on both ends to run as runners, so you have a nailing attachment on the far side and also on the back side for that board to attach to. And you could pretty much just let it rest on top of it as well. And these 2 boards would just run into the end vertical and also the webbing in the truss itself. When you get to the wall and also away from the wall, I do have some blocking that starts at the top that runs perpendicular to the trusses, and also at the bottom I do have the similar idea to help with the nailing of the poly wrap and also to help tuck behind that insulation as well. And because this is the taller end of the mono truss, I don't have to worry about putting air chutes through this area because it is so much space above there I haven't even tapped into yet. From my 2.5 years of using this method, I have not had a concern with hitting my head or also hitting my arms on the trusses, but I also have 24-inch on center trusses. So a problem I might have when I have a hand frame roof, most of them are framed at 16 on center. You might get lucky 19.2, but most of them are going to be framed at 16 on center. So you might have a chances of hitting your arms when you go up for a bar muscle up. With us shorter athletes, it might be just your head and shoulders, so this might not be a concern, but just something to watch out for as well. Would I do this again if I had a insulated or sheetrock space already? Honestly, I would say yes, because this is supposed to be a place that replaces my gym membership. So you need to think about that as well. Are you planning on getting rid of your membership? Is this a space you want to have for 4 years? What is your thought process with this as well? Where do you want this garage gym to go with you? We always question if we have enough equipment or we have the right equipment. I provide a list of underrated gym equipment that you should have in your garage gym. Check this video out here.